Welcome to Tig's Bits, and this week we continue our celebration of National Barbecue Month. JR, Chad, and myself share some of our favorite food stories, places, recipes, and guilty pleasures, from finger-licking good barbecue to whether or not potato salad goes in a gumbo. And it does, by the way. So kick back, relax, and prepare to have your taste buds tantalized. Look, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're watching this on YouTube. Follow the show if you're seeing this on social media or if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform. Leave us some comments on the clips that we share on social media and tell us some of your favorite places that you like to go to. Let's get into it.
I'll tell you on my little list here, it's funny you hit on a few of the, I had honorable mentions, with Rendezvous and Memphis, because it's fantastic. But for me, growing up in Alabama, there were some cool influences. Like we started with hooks, that's what I grew up with. You get the whiz bang sampler, and the whiz bang sampler, you got chicken, you got ribs, you got pulled pork, and then you got a little slice of pound cake on the side, to finish this thing off. So that was, they did a great job. But dude, the best barbecue dish, and again, this is kind of spinning things off, taking barbecue and involving it in something else. So I was at, one day went to Avondale Brewery, and they were like, yeah, we got barbecue next door. And Saul's had just opened there at Avondale. And I don't know if you ever had Saul's barbecue or not. Sorry Ass Wilson, what's his name? Mike Wilson, that owns it. I guess his teachers always said he'd never mount anything, sorry Ass Wilson. So, but he's got this barbecue joint. And I think the story goes is one day they had way more pork or something, and they were like, man, what are we gonna do? And they just threw together, they took these Alabama ground grits, they got some collards, some spicy collards, layered that on top, come in with pulled pork, and then did some really small fried onion rings on top with their sauce on there, which is a real tangy, high vinegar, more of a Carolina sauce. That's the best barbecue dish I've ever put in like those flavors come together. It's just like the South in a stack. That's the best dish I've ever had. And it actually kind of made me start changing some of the things I do with barbecue. Like when I like to smoke a Boston, but I enjoy a traditional sandwich or whatever, just pork on a plate with some sauce. But I'll take the rest of that, half that, and then I'll end up putting that in my gumbo. A week or so or two later, I'll freeze it and bring it back out and make like a sausage, chicken, and Boston butt gumbo. So I like to get a little more creative with smoking things and involving them in something else, so
yeah,
but yeah,
absolutely. No, that's just smart.
Yeah, no, for sure it is. But that's my favorite dish.
Never put pulled pork in a gumbo, but why wouldn't you?
Oh my God,
I mean,
it's
when you've cooked the chicken down and everything else in there, it's already kind of shredded like that. So why wouldn't you just chunk a little pork in there too?
Oh, what is that smoke flavor?
Shit.
Oh, it's that thing I smoked for 18 hours the other day.
You dang right it is. Yeah, you've already got your roux nice and dark. And before we jump on a tangent, that is a whole nother podcast.
Oh yeah,
gumbo.
Do gumbo later. Love gumbo.
Yeah,
but yeah, you can and doing that too.
Sense.
Making your own barbecue baked beans. Just baked beans with good barbecue bits and charred ends and stuff like that. Just giblets and scrapings off barbecue.
I go off deep in my baked beans. I love them but I like to make them highly involved like that. I cooked those beans on Monday.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. With them ribs and that corn. Oh my God.
Anyway. I like the beans. I always get baked beans and potato salad if that's what they serve with their barbecue. And just like with certain other things, I know some people don't like their food touching, but I'm not one of those. Mine is the perfect ratio of a bite of potato salad with the portioned out a right amount of beans. So the salty sweetness takes over the creamy of that, and it balances out, and it's just the perfect bite after every couple of bites of barbecue to just mix that palate all up, and it's clean and nice. And yeah, I like baked beans and potato salad on their own, but if you get that right bit, it's like your gumbo with your potato salad and your rice.
I was about to say, folks, this guy, he puts potato salad in his gumbo. There's no doubt.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Which is the right way, by the way.
Once I moved to South Louisiana, I realized that was the correct way, and I've never looked back and tried it any other way. Yeah, you literally put your rice, and then your gumbo over top, then you put you a nice big helping dollop of the right in your gumbo. And then you get a little bit of that off with every couple of bites.
Yeah, just kind of keep working it off the edge there.
It just works, man.
God.
It just works.
I'm so hungry.
And I think that, you feel bad for people who don't like certain things. I'm lucky there's only a handful of things I really don't care for.
Ain't much. You can look at me and tell. I ain't missed many meals.
Right. But like if you don't like mayonnaise or creamy stuff, boy, that takes a lot out. Or if you don't like onions, it's like, oh boy, that takes a lot out of cooking and
really does.
Variations if you can't do a couple of those, and mustard.
Oh my God.
Love some mustard. Some people don't like vinegar, and it's like, oh boy, there's your or black pepper. I'm like, But the same can go true if you use too much as well. It can be if you use too much onions and stuff, it's not good. If you're too much salt on anything,
I agree.
Too much mayonnaise. I've had potato salad where it's too much mayonnaise. It's this too much.
Yep, for sure. I got to give a shout out to my neighbor Shane. He makes the best potato salad I've ever had in my life. Just a little quick shout out to him. It's freaking amazing. It's really good. My mom's, this is the recipe that I use. Best I'd ever had in my life. Speaking of bland seasonings, that's what I'm getting at. My mom and dad, I didn't grow up having a lot of spice, a lot of pepper stuff. Just salt really was all that was it. They just used salt, mom and dad. They didn't add garlic powder and onion powder and all that stuff that I do once I moved to South Louisiana and, started tasting stuff that wasn't just bland. I started to refine my palate, I guess you will, but they just want it bland. So no offense. My mom and I have had this discussion. I like to have it kicked up a little bit. I love them both, but Shane's is the only one that I want now, and I can't replicate it.
Dang.
I've tried.
And I'm not a potato salad guy. Like, as far as making it, I'm just, I've done it. Like, I'm a low-level beginner on potato salad, but I love and appreciate a good potato salad. So,
I don't make my own, but my wife makes a great one when we do gumbo, and my mom always did a good potato salad. But that's the thing too. You don't know. Sometimes you don't know, and if you didn't grow up eating something, that means you can't like it later. Because I believe that your taste buds and palates do change. Because there's things I like now that I didn't like when I was younger, and things I like when I was younger I don't eat now. Some of it mainly is because I don't want indigestion, but
exactly.
That's a whole nother thing why you have to change your stuff up. Like if you like a lot of salt, well, eventually you're probably going to get cut out to have no salt, because you got to balance it, or it'll be detrimental at some point. Yeah, and that's my thing. I want to be able to have stuff forever. So if I need to lay off something now, I'd rather lay off a little now, that way I can always have a little, than have to be told at some point you can't ever have this anymore.
That's right.
So,
well, that's why the peppers usually are okay for you, because they're actually good for your digestive system. So it mans you up, like even my kids, they love, we eat, dude, I've got 8 different peppers growing right now in my garden. We're going to do all kinds of action with that. We're going to make pepper jelly. I'm going to make a hot pepper mustard. We're going to make pepper sauce. We're going to keep going. And they love, like, the heat level around here, about average meal is hotter than most can probably handle. But I love it.
I've seen Blasey eat hot, do hot. Nothing phases him. Number one, it's unbelievable. The only person that could rival this is another neighbor of mine named Adam. That dude, it's like y'all just have dead tongue or something. I don't know how the hell you could put a dab of habanero Death Reaper, I'm gonna kill you sauce, and you're like, whoo, that's a little hot. And that's it. Where I'm over in the corner, freaking curled up, sweating, hating life, wishing I was, give me a gallon of milk. Like, I can't do it. I think everybody's palate's a little bit different. So kudos to you out there who can just eat peppers straight.
No doubt. And talking about giving shout outs, and Blasey had mentioned the hometown stuff. I was going to give a shout out to my hometown barbecue places I grew up eating, because I did grow up in Elmore County, Alabama. And there were some good ones. And I'm looking back, I'm thinking they were still fine. Unfortunately, a lot of them are closed these days. But in Tallahassee, Alabama, there was one, Johnny G's was around for a long time. And Johnny G's was always fine. Johnny Graham. It eventually turned into a Mexican restaurant, but that was always a good one. And right up the road from the lake in Eclectic, where I'm from, we had Cotton's Barbecue, which is on Highway 14. It's been around for a long time. I'm sure they're still in business. Haven't been up there in a while. And it was fine. Tomato-based sauce. I remember it really being a rich tomato-based sauce they used. And then in town we had Old South barbecue and New South barbecue, which both were just okay. They weren't as good as Cotton's or Johnny G's, but both those are okay. So those are my growing up. I ate those a lot because that was the only thing in town. That was the only thing within 30-minute drive. Really, even if you went to Tallahassee, there was a Hardee's and a Dairy Queen. That was it. And then Eclectic, we had one stoplight. There was no food. I mean, it was a couple of cafes maybe, and they came and went. But those barbecue places seemed to stick around, and that was what, if you're at the lake and you didn't cook, you ordered a couple of pounds of this and a couple of this and that, quarts of whatever, and you went and picked it up and brought it back to the lake for everybody to eat, while you're swimming and stuff. Right. But it was fine. And like I said, that once you get off and you travel and you really have some different perspective and different seasonings and different methods. And then, been fortunate enough, I'm sure you guys have been to barbecue competitions. I've been to Memphis in May a few times and things like that. Now, I mean, then you get to try different stuff and really realize it's a lot more to it than just your local little pulled pork sandwich.
It is.
Oh, man.
Yep.
There's a ton to it. You break it down with rubs, sauces. I mean, look behind me. My buddy, we're shouting out people. T-Bird's barbecue sauce is just absolutely phenomenal. It is the best barbecue sauce that I've ever had, hands down.
What kind of sauce is it?
Like not even close. It is
like what's the coloring?
This is okay. Just to put it out there.
Yeah.
Beautiful label. I love the label. It's a sweet and spicy sauce. Just to wrap it up quick, it's called T-Bird's Honey Cayenne barbecue sauce. So it's got some cayenne in it.
Kick.
It's super.
Yeah.
It's sweet. I wish I could pour it out. It's kind of, I don't know if you can see.
A little thinner. Yeah, it's pretty thin. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's my kind of sauce.
That's thin.
I still buy the jars of Dreamland at Rouse's and use that. It's the same. It's thin like that, and it's peppery and spicy, but
that is a sweet but thin sauce, which is it's perfect for glazing. Yep. Perfect to glaze ribs. It's perfect for anything. I mean, you can just put it in pulled pork or whatever. There's nothing you can't do with it. The blue one, that's their original barbecue sauce. It's the same stuff pretty much, but it doesn't have the heat. It just doesn't have it. Doesn't. It's got a little bit of a kick, a little bit. It's the pepper that.
I wonder where a fella can get a couple bottles of that.
Yeah, you can. Of course, you can.
Hey, and I tell
y'all both can.
While I'm thinking about it and thinking about different things and different flavors, we didn't get too far out of the states around us, which obviously Georgia has a lot of good barbecue. There's real good barbecue down in Florida, has different places, and they do different stuff. They do some really good chicken and pork down in Florida. Delaware, I've had good barbecue in Delaware. I've had good barbecue in New York City. You know what I mean?
New
I've
York
had good
City.
Get a rope.
I'll tell you a different one that most people won't know about is out west in California.
That's where I was wanting to. I was kind of thinking maybe one of your catering or one of the concerts or something that maybe you were going to say. I was expecting you to say somewhere in like Fresno, California, or something like that. Not in like Tennessee,
right? But no, and actually, California has really good barbecue, and a lot different than you would think, because we think of like Lacey was saying, here in Alabama, it's usually chicken and pork more than anything. Not even as much beef, really. I mean, we don't brisket's wasn't a huge thing. I didn't really have brisket till I started going to Texas, which in Texas beef is big, beef ribs, brisket, because it's beef country. Well, out in California, their cut of meat that they've adopted and turned into their kind of staple there is tri-tip. Tri-tip beef, because it was kind of like our greens or certain things we eat here. It was originally the lower cut, and it was kind of given to the lower totem pole of people who were on the pecking order of getting the meat. So it was a cheaper product, but it ended up they learned how to cook it really good, same as did here with collard greens and stuff and mustard greens, that everybody loves it, and then it became a delicacy. From that, and tri-tip, when I first went out there and had it, absolutely phenomenal, and a little different seasoning, but kind of basic, but with the peppery, spicy stuff, but just a different cut of meat, but a really cool and delicious tri-tip sandwich. I've had I put some of those tri-tip sandwiches I've had up at catering in California with a barbecue sandwich anywhere, as far as just tender and just just like when you're eating a nice steak. It's when you bite into it, it's supposed to go like oil and wine and butter all just exploding in your mouth at the same time.
It's like a
and that's
brisket
how
and a ribeye just ran together.
Kinda,
and just,
yes.
Oh, here we are.
Yep. That's a good.
It's called a tri-tip. It has multiple ways the grain runs, but don't worry about it. If you know how to cut it right, you're fine.
Exactly, and they put it on these big rotating grills, and it would go over the fire, and then we'd have I remember one time doing it at a hunting camp with John Party, and they had the big cast iron skillets with potatoes on it, and it would rotate around, and that's what we did. I remember telling John, which he didn't do it, which still possible, but I always thought he should open a California barbecue joint in Nashville because everything's so
that's a
trendy.
great idea.
And serve tri-tip, which no one else is serving it. No one does it, and call the restaurant just the tip, and sell just tri-tip and call it just the tip.
That's a great idea.
Well,
so somebody's gonna steal that idea.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, there you go, folks. There you go.
I never even eat.
Send that message to Tiggs Bits, and we'll be happy to help you with that.
We'll push
that's
push you right along.
Yeah,
that's his idea.
Hey, I never had a tri-tip until my old neighbor, and he moved here from Illinois, and he's kind of like a country boy from Illinois, and he would order in these tri-tips to get from Snake River Farms, which I think is out of Iowa, and they were American Wagyu tri-tip. And he invited me over one night, and he cooked that bad boy smoked. He's all dialed in too, he gets all into the smoking and grilling. And dude, we cut this tri-tip, and that was one of the best cuts of meat I've ever had in my life. And like it really kind of changed things. I ended up sending Brantley. I ordered a tri-tip from Snake River Farms, and there was a deal on them. I sent him one. I sent me one. We both got after them. They turned out phenomenal. I mean, and dude, I've only eaten it a few times. I just recently got exposed to it in the last year and a half. That is an unbelievable cut of meat, man.
It really is. It's something
so
else,
good.
And that's kind of like even growing up. I didn't eat a lot of wings growing up. I didn't really eat wings till we went to college, and then they would have wing nights and
I was the same
penny
way.
beer nights and stuff. I never really had, and I didn't ever eat ranch dressing until I ate wings. Because I ate Thousand Island on my salad growing up.
Right.
Because my granddad did, so I did what my granddad did.
Nothing wrong with Thousand Island.
Exactly.
No.
Not one thing.
No.
Not a single thing.
Ranch really took off and left Thousand Island behind. And ranch is good, but Thousand Island, why hadn't it made a run? Where's its run?
I don't know. But like you said, it's funny how that worked. But certain stuff goes with certain things, like this different kinds of barbecue sauce that go with the different types of meat. Just like I don't know why wings and ranch dressing or blue cheese, which I like that as well. They go so well with smoked wings, but. That's another one of my favorites to get off now. Like I didn't grow up eating, but now that I travel, is just good smoked wings. I don't really like fried, battered wings anymore, but a smokehouse, a barbecue joint that does smoked wings, naked smoked wings with a dry rub. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that's my God. I can eat 2 dozen.
That's so good.
Every other one in some ranch or some sauce. But that's like the tri-tip. That's something that's more regional, but. I don't know. A lot of people may have comment in the comments. Leave us a message if you've ever had tri-tip, or if there's another type of barbecued meat from your area that we don't know of. Obviously, we're aware of. We've been to hunting camps where they put a hind quarter of a deer on a smoker overnight, or a pig in the ground overnight, a boucherie kind of deal.
Always wanted to do that. I've never done it.
Yep, we need to do that.
Hank talks about that a little bit, don't he?
Yeah, and or duck. I know a lot of in the Louisiana. Area. There's a lot of different ways that they do duck, and we can talk about their turducken and things.
Give me some bacon wrapped jalapeno poppers, duck poppers. Oh my God, man!
A friend of mine, I give a shout out to my buddy Tommy Piku down in Houma. This has probably been 5 or 6 years ago, but he gave me a bag of teal breast out of the back of his truck one day. He was coming back from hunting, and they were already ready to go. He said, just soak them in some buttermilk or milk overnight and do whatever you want with them. But they were teal breast. And I took those and jalapeno peppers and cream cheese and wrapped them in bacon and put those on the grill. And those are my favorite poppers that I've ever eaten anywhere. Definitely that I've ever cooked, but I've ever had anywhere was teal breast, a little bit of sour or cream cheese with the jalapeno and the bacon wrap on it. Absolutely phenomenal.
God.
But I know, and I'm sure in other areas, I'm sure there's somebody in probably Alabama or West Virginia or somewhere that's barbecued some squirrel or some possum or or wild rabbit,
for sure.
Or I know deer meat and elk and salmon. I mean, because a lot of people barbecue fish. That's something we don't really know about, but I know my friend from Minnesota has talked about they barbecue fish on planks and stuff. Smoked tuna dip, is that barbecue? Is smoked tuna dip barbecue?
I mean, it's smoked, so yeah,
same process.
I mean, that's
I did some.
Is there a fire and smoke, and that's kind of? And did you use that to cook?
Right,
whatever you're eating, or was it a part of? Then I mean, it's barbecue.
Well, I've got I run the Traeger setup now. I've got a small Traeger, a tailgater that I use now, and I've got my Weber out there too. But I just tend to use the Traeger more than anything.
Yeah, I'm a big pellet grill. Grill.
So I did last night. I took two leg quarters that we'd had. I thawed out, or Sharice thawed them out, and I put what sauce did I used a Sonora sauce that I got from my buddy Chad Belding from the Foul Life podcast. He did a thing, the Provider Guide to Grilling and Cooking Wild Game, and there was a series of seasonings he sent out with that. One was the Sonora, it was a Southwest sauce, so it's got a little cumin and this and that. But I used that on those skin-on leg quarters last night, put it all under the skin real good, trimmed them up, put those on the Traeger for about an hour at about 375. Did a foil packet of cauliflower with olive oil and little Cavenders, and rolled that up and put it on there as well. Like I said, about an hour at 375, and I mean, it was as good as barbecue chicken as I've had anywhere. You know, I mean, it just the Traeger really takes a lot of that error.
Dude, it makes it so easy, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're not going. I mean, I can remember having the green egg before and trying to get the temperature and come out there, and my sausage is just burnt to a crisp, and I'm like,
exactly.
Left it for 5 minutes.
Everything, I've had some friends that whenever I'm telling them, they almost think I'm just trying to sell them a pellet grill. I get nothing from RecTech, but I am absolutely a huge fan and believer in them, but it's more so just the pellet grill. The ease and the convenience of it, you still get a lot of the benefits.
But you've got a workaround, don't you, Brantley, on the smoke?
Yeah, I've absolutely got a workaround. And the one thing that I've found with my pellet grill is that I just couldn't get the smoke that I liked to get from my offset stick burner that I had for years. It just kind of, the one that I had in Florida, Chad, I just took, I think I sent you a video. I put it on the truck with it leaving.
Yes, you did.
I finally threw it away. Yep. It was it's tough to let it go. But anyhow, I digress. So, I started using this pellet grill and loved it. Everything's coming out perfect every single time because of how well they maintain temperature and all of that stuff, almost to the point of where I can pinpoint timing. Like, I'll cook chicken 50 minutes at 350. At the 40-minute mark, I crank it to 375, and bam, that's chicken thighs with a crispy skin. Just
dialed in.
Different. They're absolutely locked in. But the one thing, whenever I would cook low and slow, I didn't get on my pork butts or my briskets the full amount of smoke. They were fine. There was nothing in the world wrong with them, but I like it just a little heavier, with a little heavier smoke. So my workaround with that was I took a meatloaf tray, just an old, meatloaf tray. I drilled holes in it.
Tray.
Yeah, just an old aluminum tray that it had somehow gotten a little rust. It was an old one, so it's like, we got to toss that thing out. And I said, you know what? I got an idea here. And I'd seen some product that would kind of burn wood next to your firebox in your pellet grill. So I'm going to make my own. So I drilled holes in this thing so it could get some airflow. And then I will just I'll put wood chunks in there, put some wood chips, and then eventually chunks. And I just light that thing and get it burning, get a nice fire going with it. And then bam, I put that by my firebox, and I put it by the firebox in the pellet grill. And that gives it about an hour and a half of just a tray full of real wood smoke on top of the pellets. But it gives that little extra kick. So there you go, everybody. There you go. Competition barbecue, people. There you go. You're welcome.
So it's going back to what you did before on the smoker, like as far as you're getting the deep flavor, but now you've got the consistency and dialed in process of that Traeger. I mean, the same thing with the sous vide. I kind of, the sous vide cooking, you know, I was my old neighbor. I've had two great neighbors. My old neighbor before that was big into the sous vide thing. And it was like, I was like, man, I feel like you're cheating, you know, like, and I'd eat a steak and I'd cook my steak and mine was great as his sometimes, but his was always great, you know, and it was like,
everything.
So now I have one and I'm a big believer in it. And when it comes to steak, that's the only way I cook steak. That's the only way I cook steak.
That's it.
That's it.
That's the only way I do them now.
And same thing with short ribs. I'll take a short rib and cook those for 48 hours and I'll put them up against any short rib in the country. You know what I mean? It is phenomenal. So.
Oh, wow. I haven't done
I got
that.
a 48-hour recipe for you. Now it takes some commitment. You know, you got to plan this, but it'll be the best short ribs you ever put in your mouth.
Wow. Well, time is ticking. Send it on.
Have you seen that, JR? The sous vide device where it water? Yeah.
It's like a emulsion thing or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's.
I mean, I've even I haven't done this yet, but it's something that I will do. You know, take like a brisket, or if you want, especially like a brisket, I would say like a brisket flat. Smoke it. You're almost reverse searing it. I haven't done this, but I do believe that it would be just fine. You know, you take it, you could even smoke it for 3 or 4 hours.
Yep.
Just to really get it in there good to where it gets to the brisket gets to that stall at 160 degrees, and then put that bad boy in a bag and then let it sit in a sous vide for 24 hours and see what happens.
I'll tell you what's going to happen. You're going to have a bunch of goodness. That's what you're going to have.
Yeah. I mean, maybe take it to like 180 degrees, the sous vide. I don't know. I know that you typically, I take my brisket to about 195. That's when I start to probe it, see how it's tender, you know, how it's probing. And then that's kind of the end. I'm getting towards the end. I'll pull it sometimes if it's right. I'll pull it at 195 and then I'll put it in a cooler and rest it for at least 4 hours, period.
Wow.
And I do a brisket just like Aaron Franklin and them do in Texas. It's just salt and pepper only. That's it. And the same way with Chad sent me that tri-tip. I did it the same way, the exact same way. I don't remember how I cooked it though, Chad.
I think we started with the sous vide. We sous vide it and then
we sous vide.
We finished it with the sear.
We sous vide and then seared it.
We did.
That's exactly
because I actually sous vide it here and took it to my old neighbor who had now moved into another, like a different neighborhood, and there was some game on, a big game, maybe the Super Bowl. Yeah, and I took it over there, and we finished sous vide it there, and then he finished it on the grill, and it was phenomenal. Yeah. Oh, God.
Well, now that we've gotten all of our audience and ourselves into a frenzy, ready to eat something, maybe we should peel off and come back and do a condiments and sauces episode next week. And everybody go to their favorite local barbecue joint now and keep the doors on and critique it down. Let them know. Let us know. Send a message in where you tried afterwards, if there's any on the list you've ever had or want to go to, or definitely let us know if there's some we missed that we need to know about in any of these locations. Because I don't know if I'll ever quit eating barbecue. If they told me I had to quit, I might have to make some arrangements.
And
me and my little Weber have a special relationship. You know, I hadn't given up on her. I'm on my third one. Hey, don't get me wrong. If somebody gave me a Traeger, like I'm sure I'd utilize it. Like I got my gas grill for certain things, but man, I love my little Weber. But anyway,
I love a Weber. Look, here's the thing: there is no right or wrong barbecue pit.
Right.
I'm with you, though, JR. I'm totally with you. The pellet grill, I use it predominantly because I can just literally press a button, make sure there are pellets in it, tell it what temperature I want, and then we're rolling. Really quick. And I like everything else. I've got to, you got to build the fire and all that, which I'm fine with. I like doing that.
I get
stuff,
it.
But
I get it. I get it.
And when and two, for me, the Traeger, when I first heard about it and got into it, I was really trying to eat real clean. And for me, the aspect of burning the pellets on a electric probe, that's all the power uses, electric probe to fire the pellets. And the pellets are all natural wood chips compressed using their own natural sugars to hold them together. it's just really clean. And I always thought, I'm trying to eat clean, so I don't know if coal and other wood's going to have any of the carcinogens or anything that are not great for you. But I just thought I really like the aspect of, I know this is clean and I'm not using a lot of power and elect, because and two, we live down here where it's hot. I don't want to do anything in my oven. And I used to like using my oven, but it's hot. I don't want to heat my house up anymore.
So we're not going to do that.
I'm using minimal power. I'm at the Traeger, and it's not warming up my house, and it's in my breezeway where I'm under a canopy, screened in from bugs, all that fun stuff. But I like that aspect, that it's a real clean way to eat, and the consistency and ease. It's like having a smoker oven.
Yeah,
it's basically like running an oven. You put it on the temperature. It's going to keep, like you said, you got to keep it clean. You got to make sure you have pellets. You don't, there are ways to stall it. Or I had a flare up early on. I didn't start it right. And I had a flare up early on, having singed mine really good. But Traeger was awesome. I sent them a message, and they sent me a whole new barrel and burn box and all that.
I had an issue with mine recently. It was simply the fire, the probe. The pellets, it got hot. It was more of a blowout. Like I'm sitting right here, and all of a sudden
it starts boiling.
My wife comes in, and she's like, "Hey, I know it's smoking, but it's
smoking a little more than it should.
A little different."
Right.
And as soon as I opened the door and walked out, it just jumped, and I was like, "Uh-oh." It was fine though.
Yeah.
It had started a fire and then it just kept feeding it pellets.
Right.
And then eventually there's so much smoke, I guess, that'll just build up in that thing. It'll backfire. But
mine didn't necessarily backfire, but I walked out and realized my whole neighborhood was smoky. I was like, that's a little more smoky than normal.
A little much.
And and then I realized it was up to like 800 degrees. Yeah, something was wrong, but it had gotten too many pellets in there before it ignited them, and so then it had too many. But besides that, I've never had many problems with it at all. And my Traeger is right next to my Weber 33, and I do need and I still do want a small gas grill, because there are certain times I want to gas fire certain things for a char or for color or certain things, or just for ease.
I smoked a pot roast this week in an electric smoker. A friend of mine gave me his electric smoker that he had won in some deal, and because he knows that I'm going to eventually convert it over with my pellet grill, and I'm going to turn it into a smoke box, run a hose from my pellet grill to that so I can cold smoke stuff, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to get into into it, but he knows I love it. But hell, I've started just using it recently just for some stuff like that won't get it too dirty inside. I don't want to put chicken thighs in there and just start really bringing her down quick, but stuff like that where it's kind of in pans or racks of ribs, because a lot of times I do just do them dry. I do just dry ribs.
Yep.
And then I make the decision 3 or 4 hours into it, am I going to go with the sweet and honey, the honey for the money, or am I just going to let them ride, So
all those life choices, they get tough.
They're difficult. They really are. They're tough decisions. But I'm glad to know that whenever we come over to Orange Beach here soon, that we'll have a little Traeger that we can be smoking a Boston butt or some ribs on while I kick Blasey's ass.
I tell you what, Brantley, you got some good points there. What's going to go well is that Traeger. What's not going to go well is you in this competition, But hey, we're going to have fun. I'm still going to love you afterwards.
I'm going to eat a lot of crawfish, so I'm excited.
I'm actually not. I'm kind of up against it. I get what I'm up against here. This dude's from Louisiana. He came in and we both cooked crawfish. They were both really good, and he taught me a few things. So, but you learn from the master, and then finally one day you got to slay the master, and that's going to happen down in Orange Beach soon.
I'm fine. Bring it on. Bring it on. I ain't shaking, bro.
I know you're not.
Let's go. But the one thing I can guarantee is that anybody that happens to be at the Floribama that day is, number one, they're going to get the best crawfish experience they have ever had in their freaking life. You're already welcome, whoever you are, and thank you for voting for me. Appreciate it.